to Deep Sleep Stories. Thank you to everyone who's been listening. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep, a short review, comment, or sharing the podcast with someone who might benefit is a simple and meaningful way to support the show so that we may continue to offer it for free. Now, take a slow, gentle breath and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, a cozy space where you can gently drift off into a realm of calm imagination. Tonight, you're invited to settle down, rest your thoughts, and prepare to explore a hushed New England town under the soft glow of twilight lanterns. Imagine strolling along winding cobblestone paths in the crisp evening air, hearing the gentle hush of a distant river, and feeling the subtle warmth of lamplight guiding you forward. As you listen, allow any lingering tension to melt away, inviting a gentle softness to ease its way into your muscles, your breath, and your mind. Right now, you can begin by slowly noticing your breathing. Let each inhale feel like a nurturing wave of comfort, rolling in to soothe you. With every exhale, imagine sending away any worries or thoughts that have followed you into this moment. Notice how the weight of your day becomes lighter as your lungs expand and release, letting your chest rise and fall in a steady, peaceful rhythm. The world around you grows quieter as you let your senses slip into a state of calm awareness, like a gentle lullaby washing over your mind and body. The landscape that awaits is bathed in the gleam of dusk, where a subtle lavender sky silhouettes weathered rooftops and softly shimmering lights. As you let your eyelids grow heavier, trust that you're stepping into a place where time slows and each footstep is welcomed by the gentle hush of the evening's grace. Tonight, you deserve to let go. You deserve these next moments of peace and tranquility. So, if you're ready, let your breath deepen once more. Let your shoulders soften and drift with a gentle sigh into a story that will cradle you in serenity. Along the quiet streets of a centuries-old Connecticut town, a gentle hush settled over the rooftops. Twilight gently settled in, painting the sky with soft brushes of amber, gold, and lilac. Old cobblestone paths wound between the venerable buildings, each stone worn smooth from generations of footsteps. There was a stillness that echoed the whispers of the past, an unspoken invitation for those seeking solace. A single soft breeze meandered through narrow alleys, carrying the faint scent of salt from a nearby harbor and the rustle of leaves clinging to ancient maples that lined the roads. In the heart of this tranquil place, an old lamppost flickered to life. Its warm glow bathed the cobblestones in a gentle circle of light. Soon, other lanterns began to glow as well, turning the winding streets into a shimmering trail that beckoned curious wanderers. A solitary figure, bundled in a long woolen coat, walked slowly, each step echoing softly in the quiet air. The hush of the evening welcomed them, granting permission to pause and simply exist. They moved with an unhurried grace, pausing at a corner where a historic sign jutted from the brickwork of a building. The words etched into the wood had begun to fade, softened by time and countless storms. Though the letters were faint, the story was still alive in those streets, hidden in the worn edges of doorways and the delicate cracks in the cobblestones. Silhouettes of old houses with their sharply angled gables and proud chimneys stood as silent witnesses to centuries of twilight. Gently, the figure turned toward the center of the town, guided by the softest glimmer of lantern light dancing upon the pavement. The old structures seemed to shift and change in the subtle glow, their windows revealing warm, homely lamps inside. These windows hinted at stories tucked away within each house, the comfortable hum of conversation, or the quiet presence of someone lost in thought beside a crackling fire. The visitor breathed in the crisp evening air, letting the aroma of hearth smoke and autumn leaves lull them into a gentle calm. A cobblestone path led to a small, arched bridge spanning a narrow canal. Below, ripples in the water shimmered with reflections of the colorful twilight sky above. Lanterns on the bridge cast dancing patterns across the water, and a faint whisper of current made the night feel alive, yet peacefully subdued. The figure paused at the crest of the bridge, leaning against a weathered railing, gazing at the silent homes across the channel. A sense of timelessness rested there, encouraging quiet wonder and reflection. As evening deepened, the breeze picked up slightly, carrying hints of chilled air from the old harbor. The gentle wind rustled through the oak and maple trees that crowned the lanes, creating a soft hush, a nighttime lullaby for anyone passing by. The traveler felt that hush nestle around them, feeling it seep into their bones like a promise of warmth and rest. Each breath became a gentle thread, weaving them into the tapestry of the town's centuries-long story. Lanterns along the sidewalks were lit by an unseen caretaker, perhaps a local who roamed at twilight, ensuring the gentle glow guided neighbors and visitors alike. Softly, they illuminated the details of old shop fronts with hand-painted signs and small, flower-filled window boxes. Even though it was late in the season, a few bright blossoms still clung to their vines, their colors muted by the evening's palette. Each shop seemed to tell a story. An antiquarian bookstore with old volumes stacked in the window. A bakery that had closed its doors hours ago yet still left traces of sugared pastry scents drifting in the air, and a vintage clothier displaying warm, knitted scarves behind glass. Further along, the figure came upon a wide open square in the center of the town. A grand fountain stood silent, its water gently trickling in a steady, soothing rhythm. Its edges were laced with a fine layer of moss, a testament to many seasons past. Lantern light flickered across the surface of the water, shimmering like tiny stars caught in a dance. Around the perimeter stood stately trees, their leaf-laden arms bowing under the final sigh of the day. leaves fluttering in the hush. A single bench beside the fountain beckoned. The traveler settled upon it, taking in the scene. In the soft lamplight, the polished cobblestones glistened like old, treasured coins. The hush of water mingled with the gentle rustling of branches, creating the perfect lull to quiet the mind. They closed their eyes for a moment, letting the subtle heartbeat of this old town resonate within. The resonance felt comforting, like a tender reassurance, a murmured promise of safe haven. When they opened their eyes again, the traveler noticed a faint glow in a window across the square. Soft silhouettes passed behind the glass. Someone inside was tending to a candlelit desk, or perhaps lingering over tea. It was a reminder that life continued in these old buildings, each home carrying the gentle, steady rhythms of everyday existence. The hum of the world felt distant, replaced by a sense of closeness with simpler moments. Rising from the bench, the traveler decided to explore further. Each step across the cobblestones was mindful, purposeful, in no rush. The air was cool, inviting hands to disappear into deep coat pockets for warmth. Lantern after lantern welcomed them on their path, each pool of light blending into the next, allowing no space for true darkness to settle in. The route meandered gently, embracing little alleyways and side streets. In one quiet corner, an old iron gate guarded a small courtyard, its intricate designs forging curlicues and floral patterns as if grown from the very shadows. Through the gate, a modest garden slept under the moonlight, the worn wooden benches, inside reminiscent of countless hushed conversations that once took place there. A single lantern dangled from the branches of a gnarled tree, swaying gently as though it watched over the garden's nightly repose. Back on the main road, the traveler spotted an inviting inn, its door framed by ivy. A warm glow from within seeped through its old windows, painting the sidewalk outside in golden stripes. A subtle hum of life emanated from inside, muffled laughter, the distant clink of teacups, the comforting sound of a fire popping in the hearth. The traveler paused, content to observe rather than enter, relishing the idea that warmth and refuge were just a step away if the chill became too strong. Yet the call of the lantern-lit streets was irresistible. There was more to see, and the quiet wonder of night felt like an unending lullaby. Moving along, the traveler found themselves guided by a trail of ever-present lanterns. Some stood atop graceful wrought iron posts, while others hung from delicate chains overhead, suspended between buildings. Their lights gleamed soft gold, neither harsh nor bright, perfectly balancing the silver hush of moonlight. The traveler's eyes lifted toward the sky, catching the faint shimmer of stars peeking through thin clouds. Moonlight touched the edges of rooftops, revealing sloping angles and time-worn shingles that told stories of the season's relentless passage. Sleepy chimneys exhaled wisps of smoke that drifted away in the breeze, merging with the night's hush. Each home seemed gently embraced by the protective arms of twilight, a moment between the bustle of day and the deep stillness of midnight. Wandering deeper into the winding lanes, the traveler noticed the architecture shift slightly. Some buildings stood with pitched roofs, reminiscent of an older era, while others boasted grand Georgian doorways. A subtle tapestry of history was woven into every facade. This was a place that had witnessed the turning of centuries, yet it carried that age with grace rather than weariness. The chill breeze at times would stir fallen leaves into a gentle dance, swirling them around the traveler's ankles before sending them skittering across the stones. A quiet hush, a swirl of autumn color, and then stillness again. It was as though the town was mindful not to disturb the visitor's thoughts, offering only small reminders of its presence, a rustle of leaves, a flicker of lamplight. Following a gentle curve in the road, the traveler arrived at a wide thoroughfare lined with majestic old trees, their gnarled branches arched overhead, forming a stately canopy. At intervals, iron lanterns glowed softly, revealing worn benches beneath the trees. The hush here was profound, like being wrapped in the arms of a grandmother who carried centuries of memories. A narrow path branched off from the thoroughfare, leading down a slight slope toward a small church and its adjoining graveyard. The traveler approached the simple structure, white clapboard walls that seemed to gleam under moonlight, a modest steeple reaching for the sky. Warm light spilled from stained glass windows, painting colorful patterns on the grass outside. The traveler felt drawn by the gentle glow, stepping closer to see the images depicted. Scenes of tranquil meadows, birds in flight, a rising sun on the horizon. The graveyard beside the church was a mosaic of old headstones and weathered statues. Some were centuries old, with inscriptions softened by time, while others were marked with slightly fresher etchings. Lanterns placed along the pathway honored the memory of those who rested there, their flickering flames creating dancing shadows among the stones. In the hush of this sacred space, the traveler felt a reverence for all the stories that had come before. A tapestry of joy and sorrow, courage and hope, each resting now in gentle slumber beneath the earth. Leaving the churchyard, the traveler made their way back toward the center of town, guided by the distant glow of lanterns clustered near the fountain. A sense of comfortable familiarity blossomed with each step. This was a place of quiet routine and longtime neighbors, a community bound by kindness rather than urgency. Even the architecture spoke of a slower time where craftsmanship was valued over haste. Pausing by an old blacksmith's workshop, now repurposed as an artisan studio, the traveler admired the large wooden doors. They bore marks of countless hours of labor, the grain polished to a soft sheen by hands long gone. A lantern hanging overhead illuminated an etching near the doorframe. a faint date from decades past. It glimmered in memory of a certain day when perhaps a new plan had been forged or a tool completed. Now it lived as a gentle reminder of a continuing legacy carried on in quiet ways. Moving away, the traveler turned onto another small lane, this one lined with stately townhouses, each crowned by chimneys that whispered silver trails of smoke. Through lace-curtained windows, one might glimpse the golden lamp glow and, on occasion, the silhouette of someone reading by a table. The hush invited the imagination to wander. Perhaps these silhouettes were absorbed in their diaries, or penning letters by the faint lamplight, or merely drifting in daydreams. All across the town, lanterns softened the edges of shadows, keeping the darkness gentle and reassuring. This was not the kind of darkness that breeds fear. It was the soft, enveloping dusk that carried the promise of rest. Even the wind, though chilly, felt benevolent, stroking cheeks lightly and carrying the faintest echo of distant chimes. A moment of whimsy arrived when a black cat darted across the traveler's path, pausing just beneath a lantern as though to greet them. Its eyes gleamed in the low light, reflecting a curious spirit. With a quiet mew, it vanished down a narrow alley, leaving the traveler with a faint smile. Life here, in all its forms, felt unhurried, abiding by the measured breath of twilight, rather than the ticking of any clock. The traveler eventually circled back toward the waterfront, drawn by the cool hush of water and the tranquil promise of a gentle breeze. The docks were silent now, save for the occasional groan of wooden planks adjusting to the tide. Boats bobbed gracefully, tethered to weather-beaten posts. Lanterns on the docks illuminated the ropes and netting, casting soft, wavering reflections on the water's surface. It was a subtle interplay of light and movement, as though the sea itself was softly breathing alongside the night. Standing at the edge of the pier, the traveler gazed outward at the wide expanse of dark water. The sky above still held onto the last blush of color along the horizon, and the moon's reflection trembled slightly on the gentle waves. For a while there was no need to move. The hush, the moonlit water, the soothing presence of a centuries-old town dozing behind them, everything offered a sense of belonging and peace. After a time, the traveler began meandering once more, turning inland. Following another winding path, they came across a small park with a wrought iron fence. Inside lay an expanse of well-tended lawns and quiet nooks. Gravel pathways curved through clusters of shrubs and flower beds, now waiting patiently for spring blossoms to return. Lanterns were set at intervals, their glass panels protecting delicate flames from the breeze. Along one side of the park, a gazebo stood like a gentle guardian, lanterns resting at each post. The soft glow illuminated the wooden beams and the circular bench within. The traveler stepped under its arch, noticing the intricacy of the carved details, a testament to the craftspeople who once devoted hours to shaping each piece. Sitting on the bench, they let their eyes roam across the park, taking in the interplay of shadow and light, the faint gleam of lamplight on dew-laden grass. Time passed, though it was impossible to say how long. The hush felt timeless, lulling the senses into a state of blissful repose. Occasionally, distant church bells chimed the passing hour, their notes gliding along the breeze like a kind reminder rather than an urgent call. In this pocket of the world, each moment felt luxurious, each second a gentle gift. Eventually, the traveler realized a pleasant weariness settling into their limbs, a soft invitation to find true rest. Rising from the bench, they followed the lantern-lit path out of the park, returning to the quiet streets that had guided them all evening. This time they moved with the comforting knowledge of the town's rhythm. No corner was truly unknown now. No flicker of light went unwelcomed. And so they passed the fountain once again, its waters murmuring in a voice that seemed to say, "Rest easy, dear friend." The traveler turned onto one last street, perhaps seeking an inviting porch or an open doorway where they might finally pause. Each footstep against the cobblestone tapped out a lullaby, gentle, steady, calm. A quaint cottage came into view, lanterns glowing softly by its gate. Its tiny front yard was enclosed by a low stone wall, softened by trailing vines. Pale curtains were drawn in the windows, but through the thin fabric one could perceive the cozy light of a fire dancing within. The traveler noticed a small placard by the door. Though the lettering was simple, it spoke of a place that offered warmth and shelter for those who ventured there. Stepping through the gate, the traveler approached the door. The final hush of the night seemed to gather in gentle invitation. The weight of the woolen coat felt reassuring, a reminder of the comfort that awaited within. The quiet click of the latch, the soft creak of hinges, and they slipped inside. Warm, lamp-lit shadows greeted them, together with the faint aroma of spiced tea. The door settled closed behind them, shutting out the night's chill, but welcoming the lull of peaceful dreams soon to come. In that moment, it was as though the entire town took a collective breath, nodding in approval that all was as it should be. The lanterns outside kept their patient vigil, ensuring that if any other traveler came seeking solace, they would find a gentle guide through the winding streets. The hush of centuries enveloped everyone, townsfolk and visitors alike, in its comforting embrace, where memories and dreams interwove under the star-lit sky. Nighttime deepened, settling like a comforting blanket over the rooftops and church steeples. The steady glow of lanterns remained, a silent promise of safety and light. Across the town, windows grew dark, one by one, as people slipped into their own slumbers. The breeze calmed, rustling only faintly through the last leaves on the trees. It whispered secrets of ancient days, reminding every soul to rest. Little by little, any lingering restlessness began to fade, breaths slowed in unison with the quiet pulse of the sleeping streets. A gentle stillness, as soft as the hush of distant waves, took hold of every lane and alley. The chilled air, now that the hour was late, felt cooler on the face, yet strangely comforting, as though cradling the town in a soothing lullaby. In the silent glow of the moon and lanterns, the old cobblestones rested, content in their centuries of footprints. The traveler at last found a warm bed, the blankets soft and beckoning. Outside, a lantern still shimmered on the front porch, a patient watchman until morning. Everything was hushed, still, and at peace, echoing the unspoken invitation that all living things eventually heed, to drift into a gentle, untroubled sleep. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.